Rotterdam. The old lion roars again.
And of course, I have won titles in EuroLeague, as is really fantastic, but as well, my way in Champions League with one quarter final last year against PSG, one semi-final at Liverpool 4 years ago with Villarreal is something as well I enjoyed a lot. It's more difficult, but I want to play Champions League.
I'm supposed to be here at Colney watching the game with the boys and setting the stuff because that's what they wanted, but I couldn't. I think 20 minutes later, before the game, I had to leave. I couldn't bring the energy that I wanted, and I think when it was their moment as well to watch it together, to be themselves, and just see what the outcome would be. And I went home, I went outside to the garden, I started to build some fire, and I started to do some barbecue. I didn't watch any of it. I was just hearing some voices in the background in the living room, and suddenly the magic happened. My oldest son opened the garden door. He started to run towards me. He started to cry. He gave me a hug and said, "We are champions, Daddy." And then my other two boys and my wife came over, and it was beautiful. Just to see that joy on them as well, that they are always with me. It was magical. And I think a minute later, Martin was with the video. "Where are you?" I said, "Come over." He said, yeah, guys, enjoy it for a while, and see you in a few hours somewhere in London.
Looking at how things are going currently, when they're organizing fight, the way it's organized is not the best. Looking at trainers, boxers, coming to medicals and all those stuff, it's not well done. So it is my prayer that as I'm taking the nod to become the GBA president, I'll try and streamline all those very things to be done properly. Boxing is something that can generate a lot of revenue for this country.
Baumann hasn't had the best second half of the season, I think it's fair to say. Neuer has had a very good second half of the season. He renewed his contract. He feels still fresh. He still feels that he can contribute. He's not the same Neuer that he was 10 or 20 years ago, but he is still a very good keeper and perhaps still the best Germany keeper. And Nagelsmann, who is not averse to changing his mind and doing U-turn, as we saw when he brought back Toni Kroos 2 years ago before the Euros, has decided that all the noise and the annoyance, if you will, and the sort of slight unease that has greeted this decision is worth it, because
we had a lot of one-on-one sessions with them. We had a lot of group sessions with them. I remember we went into their rooms and then we had room-to-room discussions. I called some of them in groups. Let's say the defenders, they come to my room, the midfielders, the wingers, the center forwards. So we had these discussions with them, and then we made them understand that it's a make or break affair.
Yes, indeed, regular sound bites and relevant sound bites, if I may put it that way. Telling us about the essence of the times and what we should be looking forward to. So after all of that food for thought from all of those key sound bites, we zoom in on the Joy Sports link here on Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Nathaniel Attoh. I know you know what we're discussing today. So at dawn, the Black Stars of Ghana succumbed 2-0 to Mexico. And of course, that is part of the final sessions of friendlies that the Black Stars will be engaged in ahead of the FIFA World Cup. Now, a post by the Ghana FA president gives us another impression about the real essence of putting together this particular set of players for the national team's agenda for the next FIFA World Cup. And of course, we are at a crossroad. We're at a crossroad when it comes to the Black Starlets, Ghana's male under-17 football national team. And they have a crossroad situation because they have to go up against Coach Laye Kingston's Uganda. Now, for those of you who may not know, Coach Laye Kingston previously was in charge of the Black Starlets team and had to resign midway through a tournament. After that, he was handed the youth football setup of Uganda to handle. And so at this time, it's just a make or break situation for Dr. Prosper Nateogum, whom we just heard, and that of Lai Kingston and the Ugandan team, who makes it to the next under-17 FIFA World Cup. Of course, when it comes to pedigree, Ghana has bigger pedigree at the level of the under-17 FIFA World Cup. But the other big question is, who has the wit, who has the temperament, and who has the technique and whatever it takes to make it out of this very, very big clash later today. Of course, we'll be discussing all of that right here on the show, and also taking a look at all of your reactions and all the possible angles that you are bringing in this conversation about the Black Stars and preparations for the upcoming FIFA World Cup. And of course, today we'll be doing some Formula One as well before getting into the conversations. Welcome to the Joe. Your messages are always welcome at 055-11-11997 on WhatsApp. 055-11-11997 on WhatsApp. Well, the Ghana FA president says that the mission has been accomplished, and he looks forward to seeing a very good progression system after these young players played out and represented the Black Stars in that game against Mexico. Who do you feel has put up enough in that 90-minute sequence to merit a place in the squad that will be announced on June 1, as has been confirmed by the Ghana FA president? Of course, Coach Carlos Queiroz and one of his assistants did not take part in this exercise, and this was for purely personal reasons, according to what the Ghana FA tells us. But just before we get into the football conversations, let's roll onto the tracks a little bit and talk about the Canadian Grand Prix. All right, so the president of the Ghana Motorsport Federation, Kwabena Poku, is already seated and has quite a lot to share with us when it comes to what we should be expecting this weekend at the Canadian Grand Prix, that which precedes the FIFA World Cup. One amazing and interesting one indeed. Kwabena, good to see you.
Good to see you, my brother.
Now, you know, a long wait for this year's edition, and I'm sure that you've got thoughts going into this race this weekend. What are the key things that will stand out for you this weekend, and the key considerations you're going to make before, sticking your neck out to, put out my favorite top three?
Well, it's been, how should I put it? What's the right word? Topsy-turvy kind of season, where initially we all thought the rules was going to go on for the rest of the season, but it looks like as soon as the season started, the rules started giving problems to some teams, especially the Honda supplier engine for Aston Martin. The 50-50 power supply was causing a lot of accidents or a lot of crashes, even though it was aiding a lot of overtakings in the first few races. F1 and FIA has had to do some changes here and there. And going into Canada, there's also a bit of change in the tweaks of the rules coming up. I mean, we've already been told that next year they are dropping the 50-50 power split between electric and combustion engine. So we're going to see how the new upgrades on the cars are going to fare on the Canadian Grand Prix. Mind you, Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher hold a record of 7 wins each on the Canadian circuit. So it's a favorite circuit for obviously Lewis Hamilton. So we are all expecting to see some sort of action from him from the sprint today and the main race. The sprint today, the qualifiers for the main race today, and the main race for tomorrow.
What will be the plan for viewing, this weekend?
This weekend we are going to pit stop, one of our favorite locations in Laboni. It's the first race that we're having for a pit stop this season. So, and it's an evening race, so we're expecting people to show up. Probably we'll start with the football games. Pit stop will show, and also they'll go in for the simulator races and things like that are available at pit stop. There's a lot of motorsport games available at pit stop before the race starts at 8 p.m. in the evening. So due to the time difference, and it will give you a taste of what the World Cup is going to look like based on the time differences, starting with Canada, and Canada obviously being the first game host for Ghana's first game. It should give you a taste of what that opening day will look like. We are definitely watching that game in the evening over here in Ghana. So, I mean, the arrangement of F1. F1 is just like the opening party for the World Cup in Canada.
Interesting stuff there. Okay, so let's go to the top 3 and what the considerations are for you. I always like to look at what the causative factors for you will be for what you select to be the top 3 for tomorrow.
Mercedes is still very strong, and mind you, Mercedes is also supplying their engines to McLaren. McLaren is being able to unlock the potential for that particular engine over the last 2 races. And obviously Ferrari is also looking very, very sharp from the practice sessions to the qualifiers for the sprint. So today's sprint race will also unearth a little bit of what is going to happen tomorrow. So if I'm to stick my neck out, I'm still going to go for a Mercedes on the podium, a McLaren on the podium, and a Ferrari on the podium. I'm not going to go with the individuals, but at least I'm just looking at these 3 cars representing on the podium for the final race tomorrow. Yeah.
Finally, this bit about, I want you to go over it again. The bit about the spread of combustion engines and electric engines for the coming season. I mean, what's the balance like, and what's the real conversation about that we're going to have pure full combustion engines for all teams that participate, or there's going to be...
Well, okay, so the new rules for this season gave it a split of 50-50.
Sure.
And also gave it a deployment based on overtaking mode and the boost mode. So what happens is that these drivers are able to charge their batteries to that level where when they are able to, when they are close to you to overtake, they release the electric power. We all know what electric power does when it's released. But the thing is, at the time you are releasing your electric power, somebody in front of you may be harvesting the power at the time. So it was causing a little bit of friction, as in when the drivers were releasing them, harvesting them, and the zones on which they were on the track, as it when they were releasing those things. So it started causing a lot of problems, and the drivers were complaining, the teams were complaining, and we all saw it on the screen. It caused a bit of accidents here and there. So F1 decided that, okay, cool, we're going to tweak it a bit, as and when you release them, as and when you're not supposed to release them. And then also we're going to scrap it off completely for next season. They will have to find a different solution, because mind you, F1 is trying to go net zero in terms of emissions, right? So this is one of the strategies we use to cut down on emissions, not go full electric, because mind you, Formula 1 already has the electric version, which is Formula E, right? But they are trying to minimize the amount of emissions on F1 track based on so many things that they have to cut down, not just on the track but off track as well. So yeah, that's what generated that whole conversation. But it's not really helping the season. So obviously the engineers are sitting down, taking a look at it again and see how best they can deploy it again. But for now, we know going into next season, they are cutting it off completely.
All right. Governor, thank you so much, and we look forward to tomorrow evening.
Yes, at the pit stop, 8 p.m. sharp.
Amazing stuff. Kwabena Poku is the president of Motorsport Federation of Ghana. what you previously knew as F1 GH. The Canadian Grand Prix is in focus. Let's see who emerges. All right, so let's begin the conversation this way. Benedict Owusu, former lead producer of this show and who's also a former GJ Sports Journalist of the Year, joins me virtually for this conversation. Coach Kojo Ejejima will join us from the UK as well. Considering that now England have released their squad, Brazil have released their squad, Germany have released their squad, a few other countries have also released their respective squads. Croatia have released their squad, and you'd want to go back to look at the very emotional moments, especially for that of Brazil and the kind of message it sends to everyone. But quick, Kwabena, just before you go, I mean, we all burnt the midnight oil and the dawn oil to watch the game yesterday. Well, I mean, as you watched, what? I mean, this is a hurriedly put together team, and so yeah. So what's
so let me clear this one first. They said the coach said what? Personal reasons. Yes. Charlie, I dey hope say the World Cup it no go be personal reasons, so the guy no show up. I'm just saying. I mean, you see, Benedict's out they laugh because I'm sure he was also thinking it. Because Charlie, hey, at this stage, I can't. But anyway, as you're saying, for the fact that we gave these boys the opportunity for them to do what they did, some games, parts of the games, I was impressed. Other parts too, I was actually expecting us to lose this game. I wasn't expecting us to win this game in any way or form. But the rate at which teams have released their list and the seriousness behind it, it makes it even. I watched the release of the Senegal team list.
Very, very
and
creative.
It was an amazing, creative.
Yeah.
It was done in such a way that I even want to visit Senegal just based on watching that video. You understand? It gave it that commitment, that civic duty, that.
And this is one thing we were discussing here in the studio earlier about making sure that we take advantage of this platform of the World Cup. Yes.
It was done. Even somebody was saying that the Senegal one also looked AI, and I said whoever wrote that prompt got it right. Period. That prompt was done well, not the one that I saw recently, that you could tell that it was a computer actually reciting that whole thing. You understand? So there are certain things that we need. You need to bring people into the fold. People have this bittersweet love-hate relationship with the Black Stars. So if you begin to do things lackluster, they look at you and think you're not serious. You understand? We have a lot of... Look, it will surprise you the brains we have in this country, especially when it comes to marketing and creativity. The brains we have in this country, who can actually put things together. I'm telling you, Nat, you have no idea. I'm in this industry. I know people who can do a way better job for the GFA at a fraction of whatever price they are paying whoever to do some of these things. All we need to do is just sit down with and think with people. People are releasing their list in a creative way. Look at Brazil, the way they did it. People were home with cameras on them. They took all those reactions. Amazing.
One of their goalkeepers collapsed after.
Exactly. Look at Neymar.
And yeah.
I wasn't expecting to see Neymar there, but the emotions behind it, the joy behind it, right?
And I think we also need to give Joao Pedro some credit here. He's shown so much maturity.
Very graceful.
Being very graceful about the whole thing.
You understand? I mean, look at England. Some of them were extremely bitter. But I think the coach knows what he's doing. If he goes and it backfires, he knows he's losing his job. He knows it. But maybe we should just give him that benefit of the doubt. Some people in Ghana are saying that, oh, this team, Ghana can even beat them. I said, really? You think we can beat this England team? Wait a minute. Tuchel is a competition coach, if you watch him carefully. He knows how to play competitions. You understand? So, for me, I think we still need to put some fire. Because, look, people are not really attached to this Black Stars team. People are losing touch. People are actually going to the World Cup just to go and have fun and come back home. They are not seeing Ghana Black Stars leaving our group. You understand? If we leave our group, hey, hooray, cool. Maybe it will come from some commitment coming from these guys playing with their hearts out just to make sure they don't soil their names at a big competition like the World Cup. But for now, I don't think we are getting that. Look, you know where I hang out, you and I. If you go there and you mention Black Stars, people look at you and go like, my guy.
One of these days, I have to do a special vox pop from
that place.
From Irish.
Yeah.
Big shouts to Irish crew, Ben. Big shouts to our chairman, engineer Ben Adoma, and the whole crew.
Yeah.
You know, Kwame Safaka always blames me when the Black Stars lose a game. I don't understand. Chairman General, I greet you. Anyway, so you are not you're not comfortable, basically.
I'm not comfortable. Honestly, I need to be brought in as a fan.
Okay.
You saw the Senegal thing. I'm sure Benedict saw that video.
Let's wait for June 1st. It's not.
I hope.
Yeah.
I hope. Look, do you know one of the things that I wish I would see in a player listing? Imagine seeing the president at his desk, right? Imagine the GFA president coming in like some national security meeting and things like that. I'm just blowing my own mind. Imagine what that will make. People watch it and go like, oh, okay, now let's see what this is. Imagine the coach coming in, bringing it, the president signing his signature and direct, endorsing that, okay, I am satisfied with your list. You know, something like that. You know, some creativity, something to bring, to draw people in.
Benedict wants to add something to this. Yeah. Benedict, go ahead.
I'm sorry for cutting you, but yesterday I actually suggested this on my Twitter handle that.
Oh wow!
I mean, watching Norway and how they are kin. Actually, Norway yesterday released this, and it was a beautiful video put together by their king, the king of Norway. So, for instance, like here in Ghana, we have Otumfo, Asante Hine, or probably maybe any of the kings, Gamanche, reading out the list. So yesterday, I actually suggested that, like, just imagine having the president, right, President Mahama, sort of like the same thing that you're narrating. You know, you have the FA president and the coach walking into his office and giving him, the list, and probably maybe having President Mahama call these players. And there are so many ways we can go around it.
Imagine president calling
calling a player, telling the player that he's received a call up. So you have maybe a camera on the side of the player and the president. I mean, all these things are pre-planned and production.
Imagine how that would draw us in.
We still have a couple of days, and I know they are all listening.
Draw the
and that will bring the country together.
Exactly. You see the thing you talk about Otunfo and the likes. Imagine that you speak for the Gamanche. Imagine having the list and then having somebody go to the Gamanche. Gamanche is like, oh, I agree. Having somebody go to Otunfo, oh, or Chinkini going to Asogli. What's his name?
Togbe
Afede going to the north.
Yana.
Imagine the unity you are promoting. Just imagine the unity. True. Going to Cape Coast, Furiata, or what's his name? The Cape Coast chief. Going to Takrady, bring someone. Pick the big paramount chiefs, right? Imagine them all going, we agree. Oh, this is. Imagine the unity. And then you round it up with President John Mahama sitting in his office endorsing it. Imagine how you will bring us together. Just imagine, right? And save the face of our own football, but at least people watching on the outside going like, oh, yeah, I love the way Ghana did it. 30 December, we are coming. And imagine the background song.
Kwabnapoko and Benedict Owusu, hold on.
That's the background song, Kakalika.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine. It's a global song.
Yeah. So Kwabna and Benedict, unfortunately, the Registrar General's office is closed. This is your intellectual property you've given away. If anybody decides to put this together and lays claim to it, please.
They had it on Joy 99.7 first.
But honestly, these are some of the things you can do to bring unity and bring back the love.
On this one. But something has to bring us together. We know the team is not that good, but something has to bring us together. Something has to pump us as a nation. Senegal is sitting on this whole thing right now, and you should see the unity in that country when it comes to their football. They did it, and they did it so well. And that's what we need.
That's exactly what we need indeed. All right, so let's get your messages as well regarding all of that, and then we'll zoom in on the conversation around Ghana versus Mexico. You do know that the announcement of Ghana's squad will be on June 1. And so we've given a few ideas. Our friends at the FA, we know, are listening. So let's see how things go. We need the support across board. There's no doubt about that. All right, so let's begin the conversation with Benedict Owusu. Benedict Owusu is a former GJA Sports Journalist of the Year and a former lead producer of the Joy Sports Link. Benedict, yeah, and he's pursuing his doctoral studies as well. Very important. Benedict, good to have you again. Look,
Thank you very much for having me.
I remember Kwabna, raising a bit of concern about Queiroz' absence from this particular game, irrespective of whether, we wanted to ensure, that we had a bit of a carbon copy of the succession plan for the Black Stars or not. This is the Black Stars playing against Mexico, the senior national team. And so where do you place that conversation about, Queiroz, being away by agreement for personal reasons on, during an exercise that is seen or is expected to be one that is very crucial for our participation in the World Cup?
Yeah, I think in the first place, one thing we should all understand and get is that every friendly, for me, is a good exercise. And that going into every friendly, we need to explain well the purpose of the friendly, what it does, why we are playing such a friendly. I think mostly if that is done and done very well, then people understand and know exactly what we are doing. So for me, in the first place, I didn't really get it why this friendly match at this point when we know very well that the season is not over and that some clubs will be reluctant in releasing their players. And we've seen across board that certain players that were called couldn't make it. Saint Etienne's Augustin Boachi, also another player at Saint Etienne, Ebenezer Annan, who is a left back. These are players that I'm sure the technical team were looking forward to having in this very game. All these players couldn't turn up because it is not a FIFA sanctioned, friendly. The date and so clubs have the prerogative to say we won't allow our players to join this camp, and there is nothing you can do as a national FA. And exactly that is what happened in this very exercise, where some of the key players or players that I would have loved to, see, because these are players that have been clamoring to get an opportunity in the national team going into the World Cup. And if there is such a huge magnitude game of this nature, Mexico, one of the hosts of this year's World Cup, then of course, if you had gotten a full complement of these players or B-side players that we're hoping to see and probably get crash some of the names or the list for the World Cup, that would have been a very, very good thing. So in the first place, I think that wasn't done well in terms of why the friendly, the exercise. And so for me, I wasn't too surprised that the coach didn't show up and the FA had to announce and mention that he didn't show up due to personal reasons, because I don't think this friendly will have any impact on what's going to happen in terms of the squad announcement or the squad they're going to put together for the World Cup. It's just an exercise. And this morning, waking up to see the Football Association president post on his Facebook page about how this was a good exercise for the under-23s, that was sort of like I was taken aback that this was initially mentioned that it's a friendly for the Black Stars in preparations for the World Cup. So where does the under-23 come in at this point? So if it was for the under-23s, I think from the onset we should have been told and have been clearly communicated to that this is for the under-23s, but we will have some of the few Black Stars players that we are hoping to or we want the coach to have a look at in terms of his final decision. Mind you, he's coming in, and this game for many of us, or from the FA's angle, formed part of the games that he was going to play prior to the World Cup. So if you're looking at this and then the game against Wales and probably another one, then that would mean that what he's playing only 3 games to the World Cup, which isn't good for a national team manager, right? So for us to have this opportunity, and then today we are being told that it's a very good exercise for the under 23s, and that it will come together for everything that we are doing in terms of our national team build up, then it becomes a bit of I'm struggling to put together the right words to describe it, but I think that we should have been communicated to very well from the onset in terms of where this falls in our preparations for the World Cup. Because not if the head coach wasn't around, yes, one will argue that they had the assistant coach in the person of Desmond Ofei taking charge of the game, and that you don't need to be there in person. The coach could also likely watch the game from wherever he is. But then again, I honestly do not think that this game will form a part of whatever is going to happen in terms of the final list. If it would, I'm sure the coach himself would have been there. At this point in time, if the coach and the technical team and probably maybe the football association tells us that they don't know the list of players that will represent the country at the Mundial, then probably we might as not well go for the World Cup. I think at this point they know. So this probably was just an exercise for these players to prove if 1 or 2 players can get crushed, but I don't think it will have any huge impact on who will make the final list of the World Cup. They already know. They already know the players that are going, and I don't think a lot of these players that we saw in this Dons game will make the squad. Maximum probably maybe 1 or 2, depending on what's going to happen in terms of injury situations and all of that. But I mostly, or I don't think that it will be more than 6 or 7 from this game that we watched. They're making it into the main team for the World Cup.
And so this is what Ghana FA President Kurt Okweku wrote on his Facebook wall, on his handle. Objective accomplished. This event has provided a significant stage of exposure for the majority of our under-23 players who will soon assemble for the Olympic qualifiers, as well as other players who had limited playing time. The World Cup squad announcement is scheduled for June 1st. Let's maintain our collective effort and support for the Stars. Somebody to call my baby. And then he puts up another one that says, this presents a considerable chance for our under-23 squad to garner essential experience as they are not typically involved in matches of such high stature, thereby allowing them to gain priceless exposure. Furthermore, this offers a substantial opportunity for us to evaluate players with whom we are less acquainted, having perhaps only previously known them through reports. Given the team's limited time together, it's clear that integrating the team's effort will be a challenge. Nonetheless, we will emphasize the positives from this match. Next stop, Wales. And then the last post on this particular game. Today, our emphasis is on the talented young players who have showcased impressive football skills. A team comprised of exceptional talents that require collective nurturing along our designated pathway to achieve their objectives. All of these that I've read to you are from the official Facebook handle of the Ghana FA President Kurt E.S. Okweku. Kwadwo Ejejima has also joined us and will be weighing in on the conversation around Team England, the Three Lions. We have their squad out as well. But before that, thoughts on this game, its purpose, and what we can draw out of it. I'm talking about Mexico beating Ghana by 2-0. Passionate man, you heard Benedict clearly. He said that he would have preferred better communication around the true purpose of this particular game.
Well, Nat, I just think most importantly, it's a friendly match. The coach just came in literally over a month ago. He's not even done 2 to 3 months yet. The tournament starts in a few weeks. And so at this moment, you have to give the coach opportunity to see other players that he hasn't seen yet. So for me, it's very important that we expose him to as many players as possible, a pool of players, so he can probably look through technically if he can see any player that can help him, his tactical tweakness. So it's very important that the more opportunities we give the coach in seeing our players, whether abroad or Ghana or wherever we find every Ghanaian player that plays for the Black Stars or Meteors on the 23s, it's important that the exposure becomes more wider and wider. You know, you'd be surprised what the coach's perspective might be from seeing a few players that he saw play yesterday. So for against Mexico, it's very important that we play those games. It helps the coach even understand the characteristics of Ghanaian players. And so, I mean, he can only do what he has now. And most importantly, most of the players are still with their clubs. They're not being released yet. So with the few he has got now, he has to start getting the job done. The earlier, the better. Other than that, we're going to struggle.
Mm. Did you have any key areas of the game or key talents that you had a second look at during this game? I mean, I've said this because of the angle that the FA president was coming from in those posts.
Well, I think the FA, I don't want to sound a blame game here, but obviously because of lack of successive plan, we are forced into this stage of trying to play these friendly matches for the coach to have a second look. So from a technical point, we're not looking for the most flamboyant, the most skillful player, so to speak. But the coach needs that technical eye to see who can back up this player, who can be in that position, even going forward. Who do I have a second look, a second thought? What's the dynamics of these players? So generally, he's going to have a full access to the team and look into the other facets of the game and then build from there, because it's very important to build from the players you don't really know, because of course he knows Kudus, he knows Semenyo, he knows what these boys can do. One of the players he doesn't know, could that be a golden gem or a hidden gem in one of them? Possibly, yes. So at this moment, it will be full assessing, and then they're going to look at again and look at these players over and over again after the Wales game, and that will help them come to final conclusion if they really fit to be part of the team.
Benedict, let's talk about you as well, and some of the talents. Did you notice anything in particular?
Yes, Raksachi, I think Sechi. Yeah, I think he used to play for Crystal Palace. Now he's with Stoke City. This is one guy that I've been, monitoring for a very long time. Coming through the youth ranks at Crystal Palace, and I was happy he got a chance to be in this team. And yesterday, I was very much impressed. With what I saw from him. These are the players that we need to keep. The prospects looks very very good, and we have to carefully maintain, and harness these players, and eventually they will come good for us, going forward. And also, I've seen videos of Benjamin Asari's, ball distribution and how people want to blame him for the first goal, or probably use that as the agenda for saying that Benjamin Asari should not be number one. I think that at this point, no matter what Benjamin Asari does, it will generate a lot of talk because of who he is and where he's coming from and what's been happening in terms of our goalkeeping situation. We all agree that we don't have Emmanuel Neuer, we don't have Annalison Becker, we don't have one of the top goalkeepers that you can think of in the world. We have Benjamin Asari and the other goalkeepers, and if at this point he's the one that for some time he's been number one, and we will be doing this to him on social media and also on other platforms anytime we play a game, then I think we killing his confidence. I mean, for me, I've always maintained that he should be our number one going into the tournament. But then again, the areas that people have been pointing out, which I've also consistently been seeing of his game, needs massive improvement, which is his ball distribution. If he wants to pass from the back, and if that's what the coaches are going to work with, and that's going to be their strategy from passing from the back, then we should perfect it. If we do that, I think that yesterday, with the exception of that ball which caused the first goal in the early minutes of the game, he made some very decent saves, and he was good. The only thing that I would like for all of us to do, and also encourage the technical team, is if that is going to be their strategy, if that's going to be the way they want to play, pass from the back, starting from the goalkeeper, then we should perfect that with regards to Benjamin Asari, and we should be fine. And as I made mention earlier, I don't think any new player or a returnee made a huge convincing case for me to be included in the World Cup squad. Probably maybe I'll talk about Majid Ashimaro, and he consistently have been in a team on and off due to injuries, and he's a ball progressor, a ball carrier. We need a player like that if you're not going to have Kudus Mohammed fit. So maybe Majid Ashimaro. But in terms of the other players, yes, as the FA president mentioned, these are players that we could look for the under 23, like the likes of Sichi and all the other players. So for me, it won't be a huge change in terms of who will make the World Cup squad, but perfecting Benjamin Asari's, ball distribution, if that's going to be our strategy going into the World Cup, and also probably maybe Majid Ashimaru getting into the squad if Kudus Mohammed is not gonna be available. Even if Kudus will be available, I think that yes, Majid should be given the opportunity to be in this team, because we've always seen what he can do anytime he's been given the opportunity. If not for injuries, probably he would have been very consistent for our national team. But in terms of the other players, these are players we can keep going forward, but not for this World Cup.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how things go. Were there certain key moments in the game as well that caught your attention?
I mean, in terms of key moments, Sechi's corner. No, there was a corner. There was a ball that was passed to Sechi, which he nearly scored a beautiful goal, and that would have been a huge talk of town if that ball had gone in. And aside from that, nothing really caught my attention in the game. Aside from trying to look at players that could probably maybe gate crash the squad. And as we all know, Benjamin Asari is going to be in the team. But then again, I was also looking at the position that will be found wanting, very, very wanting, if Kudus Mohammed is not able to make it. I would have loved to see Augustin Boache make the squad, but as I mentioned earlier, due to this very friendly, not being a FIFA sanction friendly, where clubs were not obliged to release their players, that's why he was not released, because Saint Etienne, his club, is fighting to get promotion into the French League on. So such a player who is very very huge for them and plays a key role in everything they do. The club didn't release him, as well as Ebenezer Anan, who plays at left back, because I think we still have issues with our left back. So if Augustin Boache, who plays in the middle and plays in the shape and form of Kudus Mohammed, and Ebenezer Anan had made it, that would have been good, because these were players that I was looking forward to watching. And so since those players didn't make it, we still could rely on someone like Ashimaro. And also, yes, Nat, I think I should also mention Felix Afanajan. Afanajan made some runs that were so good that, if there's also a player that probably they could look at from this very game and possibly push him and give an opportunity at the World Cup as a squad member, not someone to start, then probably maybe Felix Afanajan as well.
Very well. Passionate man, do you from seeing this game against Mexico believe or think that Coach Carlos Queiroz will have extreme difficulty naming his squad from what you see so far? I mean, you've watched the regular side, what we'll call the regular side play, and you've seen this game as well.
Yeah, certainly he's going to have challenges naming the squad, because he doesn't really know the players well, because he hasn't been with the squad for quite a long while. And so now he's going to count more on the players. He's seen a couple of matches, the most experienced players, the ones in Europe, and the ones he's used to seeing them in the big leagues as well. And that is quite challenging, because, every tournament there could be some players quite unpopular, but could be the golden tickets that can change the tournament. And every team has that. But it will be very difficult for Carlos to really, go ahead and include in the squad a golden player. So these are the matches that will offer him the opportunity and the chances to look at these sort of players. But I think, beside that, he's always going to go with the Semenyos if Kudus is fit. But the most challenging part of the team, I don't think it's too much about the attackers or the midfield. I think it is the defense. We're talking about Benjamin Asari now. It's easy to blame the goalkeeper, but you have to look at the whole shape line of the defense. So the coaches have a big problem in who to pick for the defense. So that's where I think he's going to have more challenger moment. Yes, you can take Jiku with you, but Jiku is the only player we probably have now. You know, Ebenezer Annan, the Saint-Etienne boy, I think is a player that we should be championing for the left back position, because I think he's been very good, tall enough. You know, he can be part of the squad and really help the team. You know, there are other phases of the team that we have to really look into. But Carlos, his hands are tied. He can only do with what he has on his hands. So it's not a matter of, is he going to make a big decision going forward with the players? I think it will all boils down to the materials that are being presented to him.
We're still here on the Joy Sports link with Joy 99.7 FM. Remember, it's 055 1111997, 055 1111997. Greetings to Ansaki. Ansaki is a seasoned PR consultant. You all do remember her exploits with MultiChoice Ghana, MultiChoice DSTV. Yeah, she says that we're giving pressure to the creatives and the FA. So she's just hoping that if they listen to us and listen to our advice, they put up a very creative video which doesn't lack any kind of quality, considering that we have a lot of interesting creative minds, here. So, Anne, your concern is very well noted. The other question is, will they listen to the advice? If they'll pick the advice, how will they go about announcing the squad? Well, let's see how things go on June 1. We're preparing ourselves for that one. That will be the final phase in terms of getting to know who will make up the squad. And then after that, we start focusing on, the Ghana's opening game and the rest of it. Talk about Ghana's opening game. Squads have been released for Croatia and England. And I'll be asking my panelists for their thoughts as well on all of these. But while we do all of this as well, we're trying to get into the minds of our players. We look at other countries and we're looking at some of the reactions, and it just tells you how much value. I mean, Brazil are the most achieved nation of the FIFA World Cup, but look at how much value and how much currency they place on the World Cup, playing on that stage, representing your country and all of that. Maybe players from other parts of the world should learn something from it. Kwejo?
I think representing your country in a World Cup, in major tournaments, is a pride of every player. And so I think it's something that we should be, as Ghana, we should be championing as well. I think we've always had that spirit of, playing in a big tournament and wearing the colors of Ghana, which is a sense of pride. But also it adds more value to the player. Aside him representing his nation, it also puts a sense of responsibility. It could affect individual awards. It could help the player also, his publicity. So a lot of things goes on beyond even playing football alone. Imagine not being selected for this major tournament when your country is there and you're a big player. That could also sort of give you, quote unquote, lack of the bigger exposure in a big football mundial like that. So representing your country is a sense of pride. Every player dreams about this. And, most of these players are being inspired by some of the senior players when they were young players. And so you dreamt to be like Abedi Pele. You dreamt to be like that player or him or that. And so it's very important that you're able to play for the most important matches. Also, it's the gathering of the best players. Not everybody wants to play against the best nations in terms of football. That's why when countries don't qualify for the World Cup, they feel very sad. And so for us to be there, and if you're a big player and aspiring to be a great player, you need to be in these tournaments.
Yeah, Messi. I was about to, describe Benedict as Messi. Benedict doesn't play. I mean, he plays a bit of football, but not to that level. Benedict. Yeah, I mean, you saw the videos.
Yeah.
You saw the reactions.
Yes, I did.
Priceless.
Nat, that's how the national team should be about. It should be about you really wanting to be part of the select few that will represent the millions of the country. But in our situation, And I just want to take us back to 2022. Before the World Cup, what were we doing? We were rather going around begging players to come and play for our national team. You know, we have reduced our national team to that level where we had to fly from here to England to go and beg Salisu to come and play for us. Inaki Williams, 3 months to the World Cup 2022, gave an interview to The Guardian and mentioned that he didn't feel Ghanaian enough and that it will not be right for him to take a place of another person. We qualified for the World Cup, and what did we do? We went to beg Inaki Williams to come and play for us, which means we have reduced our national team to the level of begging players to come play for us. But when we see that of Brazil and the other countries, it means so much to them that Neymar, who has been a captain of the team before, has and if he eventually goes to the World Cup, because since they named him, he's picked up a calf injury, which probably maybe might rule him out of the World Cup. But if he eventually goes to the World Cup and he scores, he will become an all-time top scorer for Brazil at the World Cup. He is currently the all-time top scorer for Brazil. And I saw the priceless and the how he was so happy with the family when his name, was announced by the coach Carlo Ancelotti. That is how the national team should be, to that level of a player of Neymar, who has played for all the big clubs. But here we are, our players are not even playing for top clubs in Europe, but we are rather begging these players to come and play for our national team. So it should always be that players must sweat and get the opportunity to play for our national team. That's why you could see when players like John Mensah, Suleiman Tari, Michael Essien, and all those players got the opportunity, John Painter got the opportunity to play at the World Cup. It meant so much to them because they came through the ranks. They fought with they competed with their compatriots in the under 17 to be moved to the under 20, at the under 20 level to be moved to the under 23. But here we are, players are just abroad. When we hear we don't take part in their development, we don't do anything for these players. When we hear a player's name attached to a Ghanaian descent, oh, let's run and go get a player. So that player would not have that passion, would not have the expression that we saw of these Brazilians when their names were mentioned, because we are rather chasing for such players to come play for us. Mind you, we are also not their first option, because if we were their first option, they would have jumped on the ship. They always look at getting the opportunity to represent the countries that they were born. If they don't get the opportunity, then they look at us. You understand? So we have made our national team that way, where we hardly will see that sort of reaction that we saw from the Brazilians when their names were announced.
All right, so as I mentioned earlier, Ghana's opponents are getting down to business. Coach Thomas Tuchel has named his squad for the FIFA World Cup. That sure will be some clash that many will be talking about. So for goalkeepers for the Three Lions is Dean Henderson of Crystal Palace, Jordan Pickford makes a return from Everton, and James Trafford of Manchester City. For defenders is Dan Burn, Newcastle United, Mark Guehi of Manchester City, Reece James of Chelsea, Ezri Konsa of Aston Villa, Tino Livramento of Newcastle United, Nico O'Reilly of Manchester City, Jarell Quansah of Bayer Leverkusen. Jarell Quansah has a very, very interesting story where his grandfather was a footballer. His grandfather passed on recently, just a little past 91. Played for some of our clubs here in Ghana. And now 2 generations down, Jarell Quansah of Bayer Leverkusen gets the opportunity to be in the squad for England. Jed Spence, Tottenham Hotspur, and John Stones, Manchester City. For midfielders is Elliot Anderson of Nottingham Forest, Jude Bellingham of Real Madrid, Eberechi Eze of Arsenal, Jordan Henderson of Brentford, Kobbie Mainoo of Manchester United, Declan Rice of Arsenal, Morgan Rogers of Aston Villa, and then for forwards is Anthony Gordon of Newcastle United, Harry Kane of Bayern Munich, Noni Madueke of Arsenal, Marcus Rashford, Barcelona, on loan to Manchester United, Bukayo Saka of Arsenal, Ivan Toney of Al Ahly, and Oli Watkins of Aston Villa. Benedict, expected,
Yes.
wasn't it? I mean, any surprises for you in this squad of our opponents?
Not at all. Thomas Tuchel is a very bold manager. He's one that will not be manipulated by the English press. And if he's made up his mind on what he wants to do, that's what he will do. And exactly what he has done. Ideally, many would have expected Foden, Kopama, and Trent Alexander-Arnold to be in this camp for the World Cup. But based on his explanation that he gave, which for me, he gave very basic and sensible explanation from on dropping some of the big names in the team. And one thing that he said, which resonated very well with me, was the fact that you cannot have five number 10s and play them out of position in a major tournament like the World Cup. And we saw something similar with Gareth Southgate at the last Euros, where he had players, he was playing them out of position, and the telepathy and the connection wasn't really there for the team, and which eventually cost England. So I think that Thomas Tuchel has made some bold calls, and he went for a team that he's very comfortable with and have been training with for some time. The only inclusion that probably maybe came to me as a surprise, which he explained and I perfectly understood, and that's what should be done by any national team coach, that when you pick a player, you explain and convince people why that player deserves to be in the team, and that's what he did with Ivan Toney. I would have loved to see Danny Welbeck, gotten the opportunity to be part of the team because of his performance for Brighton this season in the Premier League, being the top scorer for. In terms of all the English strikers, he scored more goals than any other person. He was actually Brighton's best player of the season, and he played very, very well. Off the ball, he worked so hard. He's not the standing striker that will only be in the 18 and waiting for balls. He can drop deep and carry the ball forward as well. So I was hoping or was expecting to see Dan Welbeck make the team. But then again, Thomas Tuchel mentioned that the current coach of Al Hilal, where Ivan Toney plays, is his former player, and he spoke a lot, to him regarding the player, and he mentioned that. As looking at the stats and everything, being involved in over 42 goals this season and has scored quite a number of goals, he could be a huge and a great addition, and also a very, very instrumental backup for Harry Kane. So based on his explanation, he's a good penalty taker, and in tournament situation, we could get to penalties where you need players that are clutch, that are very good when it comes to hitting the ball at the back of the net from the spot. And someone like Ivan Toney will always give you that. He's also very good on the ball. He's very good with his head as well. So he gave all these explanations, and it made me agree with him in terms of picking him. And if you generally not you look at the squad, for someone like Phil Foden, maybe we'll just look at the three players that people have been talking about that have been left out. So for someone like Phil Foden, I mean, even at Manchester City, we've all seen how he has struggled to get into the team. Like previous seasons, yes, we all could say yes, Phil Foden was, I think it was 2 seasons or last season that he was Manchester City's best player of the season. But this season, we've seen that Phil Foden has not been the Phil Foden that we've known for a very long time. Yes, he has the potential. He's still 25 years. Sometimes they say, yeah, in football, 25 years is old, but 25 years, he still have a lot more years to prove that he can still get to the top. He's a fantastic player. He has the talent. And on any day, if Phil Foden is in his normal groove, as we've seen, he is very devastating and hard to play with. Look at the assist he gave Semenyo in one of their games recently. That's the kind of player he is. But we've not seen much of him in this season in the Premier League. And it's always about players getting match games, getting opportunity to play at their club level and impressing. That has always been for me. So even if a player is playing in League One or is playing in the third tier of English football and he's playing very well and the club is in the relegation zone and he is very good among everything that is happening around him, then such a player deserves to be in a team. You can talk of Kopama. Kopama this season has really struggled, and if Chelsea fans will be very, very honest with themselves, even in Chelsea, it has been quite frustrating to watch in many of their games. So I think that yes, if you're looking at players that are playing very well, and with Thomas Tuchel wanting to win this tournament, a player who's not been at it, even at his club, definitely will not be given the opportunity. I would have loved to see Trent Alexander-Arnold make the squad based on his creativity, not his defending. But then again, Thomas Tuchel also looks at his squad and looks at the players he has and the players he's been working with since he was appointed as coach of England. And he has a lot of creativity in the middle that players that are in a team can equally give what Trent Alexander-Arnold will give going forward. But then again, Trent Alexander-Arnold's main role is defense. And we all know that he has a bit of problem with defending. So if Thomas Tuchel will have a player who can equally defend and defend even way better than Trent Alexander-Arnold and will even get half of a player that will give him that creativity going up front, I don't think that he will take Trent Alexander-Arnold to the World Cup. And he has done something which Gary Southgate couldn't do. Gary Southgate was mostly influenced by his friends in the media, the Gary Nevilles and the Jimmy Carragers, and they're always on him. Oh, Trent is going. Trent can also play as a midfielder. And we saw that in the Euros, he deployed Trent as a midfielder, and it didn't work. Thomas Tuchel doesn't want to play with that going into this World Cup. He has picked Reece James, Livramento. Reece James on any day. Kyle Walker has consistently been talking about how for him, Kyle Walker, who is also a right back that is considered as one of the best right backs to have come from England in the last 2 decades, says that for him, his all-time best right back he has seen, complete right back, is Reece James. He defends so well. He also has that creativity in him going up front. He can cross, he can pass the ball, and he's very strong. And if he's fit, there's no other better right back in England than Reece James. Livramento has also been playing very well for his club side, Newcastle United. So if you look at the players that he has given the opportunity, and I'm sure we'll go through the list from the goalkeeping, every player in there deserves to be in the team. I've seen some Manchester United fans talk about Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire, yes, fantastic player, always delivers at the world stage for England. But then again, if you look at Dan Burns' contribution to Newcastle United, even if when Newcastle were struggling, you always could see his impact in their team. It is hard and it will be difficult to overlook players like that. And mind you, these are players Tuchel, since he came, has been working with. They've consistently been in camp with him. And so he's looking for harmony. He's looking for players that can already gel together, not to bring players because of their names and because of what they've done previously, but players that he has worked with consistently since he took charge of the team and going into a major tournament like the World Cup. They should want him to win. Thomas Tuchel will want to win. So I'm not sure he will sit back and say, I'm dropping all these players that could help me win the World Cup just to be sacked and be disgraced. The players that he has picked equally all deserves to be there, and I think that he has made the right choice for England.
Right choice for England indeed. Okay, so before I go to Passionate Man, Victor Achutamaklo is also here with us. Victor, the reality is now staring us in the face. Our opponents now, are getting their teams to take shape, and we're here.
Good afternoon to my big brother, Benedict Toast. It's been a while. Great to hear from him again. But as for Thomas Tuchel, look, he's upset a lot of people with some of the players he has dropped. But I support the decision not to take Phil Foden and Cole Palmer. The Jordan Henderson bit, I understand it, even though I don't agree with it, but you need that bit of experience. The Cole Palmer and Phil Foden conversation, it is simply a matter of style and who is a better fit for what the coach wants to do. If you've seen Tuchel's team for some time now, he has gravitated gradually towards a 4-3-3. So, one holding midfielder, two midfielders with the license to get up and down the pitch, who can distribute, cover a lot of ground, have goals in them. That holding midfield slot appears to have been taken by Elliot Anderson. Rice is not droppable. The third midfielder slot obviously is going to be between Morgan Rogers, who's Aston Villa's player of the season. I think was the best player in the Europa League, won the best player in the Europa League this campaign, won the Europa League with Aston Villa, and more importantly, happens to be Tuchel's favourite. I mean, you should listen to him talk about Morgan Rogers. So he's got that third position under lock and key. In fact, Jude Bellingham might even struggle to get into that starting lineup. So that takes away three other places from them. Now, where these two players thrive Cole Palmer and Phil Foden is in the number 10 position as a playmaker. There is no room for a playmaker in Tuchel's England team. And that is the biggest conundrum for these guys. More to the point, Phil Foden has not put up the sort of performance levels that will force the manager to rejig the system, right, in his favor. Also, it is something the manager has not done throughout the qualifiers in the past year and this year. I don't think it will be reasonable for any of us to expect that all of a sudden he's going to set aside what he's been testing over the months, since he got the job, just to accommodate Phil Foden. If you want to take them, the only way they would have made that squad is if they were wingers or as wingers. Now let's look at the wide options. On the left, Anthony Gordon finished the season as one of the best forwards in the Champions League, one of the top scorers for Newcastle United. Marcus Rashford, possibly the starting left winger, is at his best season in years at Barcelona. Double digits for both goals and assists. So on that left side, there is no room for Cole Palmer. There is no room for Phil Foden. On the right, Saka is a guaranteed starter if he's fit. The other player, Noni Madueke, and I have to say it, I'm not a big fan of him. But the question is not about whether or not he excites us or he's a player we like. It's about functionality and what he brings to the team, at least in the context of the wing profile that the manager is looking for. What is Noni Madueke? He's direct, he's quick. He can get balls into the penalty area quickly. He can stretch teams. Those are attributes that Phil Foden does not have. Cole Palmer does not have either. So I don't think that these players, I don't think there is any basis for questioning that decision not to take them. Where I was a bit surprised, in fact, even the Jordan Henderson bits, I think the squad is still very young and needs a few more experienced heads. And so I can understand taking aboard one player who has, 2 World Cups and about 3 European Championships or 4 under his belt to the team. You get the point I'm making. So I can understand why Jordan Henderson is there. Obviously, he's not going to start games. He probably comes on final 10 minutes or 5 minutes when they are looking to kill games. But he's that character that you need in the dressing room for team bonding, also for someone to be as a leader. My only point of departure will be Lewis Hall and how he did not make the squad, because he's England's best left back as we speak. And then Harry Maguire, because Tuchel himself said that the squad has to reflect the best performance in the Premier League. In 2026, Harry Maguire checks that box. He started 14 out of the 16 games for Man United in the period where United have been the best in the league. The only games he did not play, he was suspended for. And I think that he has a stronger case than John Stones. Stones hasn't even played for... He's played about, less than 90 minutes in 2026, if I'm not mistaken. And simply does not have enough body of work. But it is one of those call-ups where it is simply a case of the manager's preference and not necessarily because the others are not good enough.
Victor Achutamaklo here with us here in the studio, doing some analysis around, the England squad. Reality check, and they have named the squad. Also, Croatia have named the squad, and that includes 40-year-old Luka Modric. This obviously will be his final, relationship with the FIFA World Cup. We're live here on Joy 99.7 FM, also live on YouTube, and also live on a couple of our affiliates, including Castle FM in Cape Coast. Now, let me read this message from Prosper in Dakuman. He says, "Good day, Nathaniel. I don't really know what this Ghana-Mexico friendly and what it was meant to achieve. Probably was to fill the pockets of some football people, because logically speaking, if it was to test the strength of our team going to the World Cup, 90% of these players won't be part of the team, so what was the logic in playing such a game? The current GFA is consistently proven a lack of vision and competence." Okay. And then he says, "Not the under-17 team doesn't look anything like a winning team. Right from their opening game with Algeria, it's glaringly obvious that they lack a competent direction from the bench. Even if they manage to qualify for the World Cup, we would seriously need to do something about the technical team." Prosper, okay, writing that message about his namesake, Dr. Prosper Nate Ogum, who will be going up against Lai Kingston, who has a very, very interesting story
won Ogum
with Ghana.
already.
Well, basis will be very important. I do not think we've gotten there yet. Let's do this message as well. It says, "Good afternoon, Nathaniel. I watched the Black Star match this morning. They played well, but the ball has been played in our defense more, so the coach would have to work on that. And Benjamin Asare is not timing his line at all, and that's why Mexico had to score the second goal against him. Johnson and New Ayoma in OT region, Jasican Municipal to be precise." Okay. This other one is from Ernest and Taifa. It says, "Ghana football is dead from the senior team to coach soccer. Why are we allowing these square pegs at the FA to clandestinely dribble Ghanaians? Let's protect taxpayers' money." Ernest from Taifa. Thank you for that message. Now, good afternoon, Nat. Ben Asare is number one, and the people should stop the campaign to remove him from the squad as our number one or as our number one. One thing I want to say is that our African coaches should stop copying the Pep way. We had our own agro style of play with great skillful players, with all these Eurasian players. Let's enhance our style with some strong players, and we should not allow our goalkeepers to be goalkeepers and not sweepers or playmakers. We should allow our goalkeepers to be goalkeepers and not sweepers or playmakers. Now, the extreme requirement for goalkeepers is to always distribute the ball, and passes don't sit well with me. Okay, so let me go over it again. The extreme requirement where goalkeepers always need to distribute passes doesn't sit with me. Now, that's not their main job on the field. Let's play our authentic style and allow our goalkeepers to operate in the traditional or natural way. Thanks. Kwesi Fori wrote that one. Kwesi Fori, there's something called building up from the back. It is a style of play in modern football. Many and every other team, resorts to it.
How many of your centre backs are comfortable playing out from the back?
Well, that's another.
Look, I'd worry more about Asare's shot stopping, how he claims crosses. Yeah, the areas of concern in Benjamin Asare's game have been his handling of the penalty box when it comes to crosses. There has been some moments of scare where he does not appear to be in tandem with the movements in front of him in terms of when to come out and when the defenders need to clear up the space for him to get a free run at the ball. Those are the things I'll be concerned about. Because if he drops the ball on any cross, we're in trouble. That is the area that I'll be concerned about. But as far as distribution is concerned, I wouldn't worry, because none of your defenders are even comfortable receiving the ball. Even the midfielders, if you take away Thomas Partey, we don't have players who are comfortable receiving the ball with their back turned to the opponents. You get the point I'm making. So if you want the goalkeeper to be of a specific profile, it needs to be marriable with the profiles that you have. If you have a goalkeeper who passes the ball well into midfield, and half of or majority of the players who he's passing the ball to cannot receive the ball under pressure, better go long.
Well, Kwejo Jejima is also there. We'll just try to wrap up our conversation around the English team, and then we can throw the focus on Croatia, because Croatia are also ready to go. Like I mentioned earlier, the good old Luka Modric, he's been named, and the AC Milan star suffered an injury following a clash of heads in the match against Juventus at the end of April, but he seems to be fine and good to go. Now, just before we go, let me just take Kwejo's brief comments about, how good the England squad is and how we should also prepare to make sure that we make something good out of the game. Kwejo?
Yeah, Nat, I think this English squad obviously is brought a lot of divided opinions, and everyone looks at the team from a very, 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 very divisive opinions because of obviously the pairing, and but I think that Tuchel is looking for, what if you don't play in your position? What can you give extra? So in the case of Jude Bellingham, you know how hard Jude works off the ball. So he knows, for example, if Rice receive a yellow card, a double yellow card or a red card, or should he play Jude, even in central midfield, he know how hard he works. He can play in that central midfield. And then his eye for goal, his arrival in the box is always spot on. So he looks at that layers of the player's game. My highly disappointment was the fact that he didn't take Trent, because there are different layers of Trent's game. Yes, I hear that. I hear about Spence being a good right back or being a good fullback, can play both sides of fullback positions. But there are layers of Trent's game. If you take Ivan Toney, I don't see anybody in this England team that crosses the ball better than Trent. And if you're going to play Ivan Toney or Harry Kane, because obviously you've got Jude behind him, you don't expect Harry Kane to be dropping deep like he's been playing his game, always trying to be behind the ball. You need Harry Kane to be in the finish line. And then you can count on players like Rice and Jude and the rest of the other midfielders to be able to provide these crosses or provide those pocket passes into the box or possibly score goals. So Trent should be in this team because his delivery, his ball delivery. Yes, there are fractures of his defensive duties, but that's where a team. That's what comes to a team. When the team progresses into the quarterfinals, into the group stages, beyond the group stages and into the knockout stages, you need that quality. You need that importance of these players, their level of understanding of the game to be able to push you through. You're just spoken about Luka Modric being part of the team. This is why you need that. If you can take Henderson and leave out Trent, I find it very quite disrespectful to the English people here. And I think this team wouldn't go far because of the selection of players it's done. Yes, it's not a bunch of players just going to play football, but you need certain players. I understand a bit of the Cole Palmer, Phil Foden. I understand all that bit because, all right, beyond the 10 position, what does Foden gives you? He doesn't give you nothing anymore. As a manager, if you tweak your tactics in the course of the game, you're not going to find much out of Foden. You're not going to find much out of, for example, Cole Palmer, other than him playing right behind the striker. But obviously, Jude gives you that. Obviously, Madueke gives you that a stretch. When he plays wide, he gets the job done. Very effective winger. And so I respect all that bit. But I just think that sometimes the system does not really work, and the shapes goes out of the window when you come against certain quality teams. It's more about quality rather than shape of the team, rather than positioning, rather than all these things. And I think that when I look at this team now, I just think Harry Maguire should be in the team. If he's not in the starting lineup, I get it, but he should still be in the team. Why? Because he's got character. And you need players with character in tournaments, because there will be moments that it's not about how well defenders defend. I don't think Gay is an exceptional defender. Yes, he's very strong, he's very quick, but he doesn't even carry the ball from the back well. But he's got a bit of character as well. So does Harry Maguire got character. So I just think that with that excuse that he gave, I don't really doesn't really sit well with me. But for me, I just think that this England team, and I'm saying this today on record, that they won't go that far.
Okay.
I can see this happening.
Well, if I should take myself out of this seat and try to be a Ghanaian fan, then I'd really like to hear you say that over and over again. So England won't go that far. That's what Passionate Man is saying. I don't know what your thoughts are. Interesting times ahead indeed for this upcoming World Cup. There's no doubt about that. And so I'm going to go into the squad that has been announced by Croatia. Do a few comments and then we'll zoom in on the Black Starlets conversation. Ghana versus Uganda to get one team to go and join the list of teams that will be playing at the next Under-17 FIFA World Cup. Coach Laie Kingston versus Coach Dr. Prosper-Nate Ogum. But before that, let's listen to Coach Dalich's, squad. For goalkeepers, it's Dominik Livakovic of Dynamo Zagreb, Dominik Kotarski of FC Copenhagen, Ivo Pandur of Hull City, and then for defenders is Josko Vardiol of Manchester City, Duje Kaleta Kam of Real Sociedad, Josip Sutalo of Ajax Amsterdam, Josip Stancic of Bayern Munich, Marin Pongracic of Fiorentina, and then Marin Erlich of FC Midtjylland, as well as Luka Vuskovic of Hamburg. For midfielders, of course, AC Milan's Luka Modric, Mateo Kovacic of Manchester City is in there, Mario Pasalic of Atalanta is in there, Nikola Vlasic of Torino is there, Luka Sucic of Real Sociedad also there, Martin Baturina of Como is there, Christian Jacic of Augsburg is there, Pauta Sucic of Inter Milan is there, Nicola Moro of Bologna is there, and Tony Fruk of Rijeka is also there. For forwards is obviously Ivan Perisic of PSV Eindhoven, Andrej Kramacic of TSG Offenheim, and then Ante Budimir of Osasuna, Marco Pasalic of Orlando City, Petar Musa of Dallas FC, and of course Igor Matanovic of Freiburg. All right, let me begin with you, Kwejo. Now, there it is. It's clear. And the Croatians are known to play like real tough, real hard. They come in with a lot of conditioning, and they're technically very, very gifted as well. They are opposition we're coming up against. I don't know what your thoughts are about the squad.
Well, one thing about the Croatian team over the years, they've always had a stronger mental ability to be able to navigate through tournaments. So their strength is always stay strong, stay together in the game, because they rely more on experience, and then they freshen it up with a bit of young players, because they believe more in knowing how rather than just taking a fresh new team. So if you watch the squad over the years, you're always going to find about 5 or 6 old players who are always in the squad, and then they try to sort of progress them over the years and then freshen it up with young and exciting players. I think the most important thing for Ghana versus Croatia will be the fact that if we're able to going to be more organized, because these Croatians, they are very, very well organized side. They do not play football just because they keep running anyhow. They have the quality to finish off games, but also they get the basics done. They run, they press, they close angles, they win tackles, and that's been the bedrock of the Croatian team, always as a unit. They do not play individual football. Yes, they have individual players that can always make the difference, but the strength has always been together as a unit. They defend as a low block team. They open up and attack as a team that is very, very solid in transition. And then when they have to make the call, of course, the quality always shows. So if Ghana has to get a good result, or if we have to beat Croatia, I think the strength of our team would have to be more about not individuals, but how well we are able to exploit their spaces. How do we break them down? I just think that is very, very quite simple. The Croatian team passes in a short circles. They go in the triangles. They move in the triangles. So we should be prepared to take the game to them. If we sit back, I think they will press us. So we need to take the game to them, but at the same time as well, try to keep the basics of the game. Simple passing, simple runs. That's where we need to start looking at. If we complicate things, then they will come at us. So I just think these are some of the most important things. They have a very, very solid squad. And the lineup the squad you just announced now is a very, very well solid squad. Almost every single player in that team plays really, really well in their clubs. And they are the most efficient players. And I say that again, Croatian players are mostly efficient players. They might not be the most flamboyant players, but they get the job done. And it's important that Ghana would have to organize itself, play to the basics, and then we make sure that when we play like that, I think we can be able to beat them.
Giovanni. Nyankopon said my mission, keep walking through the valley. You believe in juju, I believe in power. Christopher, I'm down to
All right, so Croatia there. Remember, it's 055 1111997. Once again, it's 055 1111997. All right, so let's now throw the focus on the Black Starlets. Now, remember that Ghana, in terms of its relevance in international football, has had its glory days, for the Black Starlets. And of course, that had to be attributed to the 90s era. Now, Ghana's under-17 national team, male, has struggled to keep up to that particular pedigree that, got us a lot of, stars that went ahead to play in the age-specific national teams. Now we need to start throwing the focus on what we're confronted with later this evening. Laie Kingston, a former international who also played for the under-17 team, now finds himself handling the Uganda national team some months after he walked away from the Black Starlets team for what he termed as unfair treatment. Now we're at this crossroad. Is it going to be Uganda? Is it going to be Ghana? This is a very, very uncomfortable place from a fan's perspective. Benedict, it is a very difficult conversation to have, isn't it? But the game will come off at 7 p.m. today.
I don't know those who write these type of scripts, because it's always interesting how these things pan out. Because Laie was the coach of this team, and we also saw how well his team started in the the Wafu Under-17 Championship at the Legon Stadium, and then after he left the job and he got this very good opportunity with the Ugandan Football Association, where he's not only the coach for the under-17 but also for the under-20 and the under-23, because they want to have that natural progression where there's the same method at the under-17 level, and then when you go to the under-20, it's also the same coach with the same ideas. So even if you have players at the under-17 that you're progressing them, you will see that natural progression where the method of coaching, everything that they are doing in terms of tracking of injuries and looking at players will be synonymous to what is done at the other level, which is the under-20 and also the under-23. And that's something many of us we've been clamoring for our junior national teams, even if it's not the same coach, but you have set of coaches that are working together so that transition becomes smooth. That would be great. And I think we have to really, give thumbs up to the Ugandan Football Federation for taking this huge step for making Laie sort of like the face of their junior national teams. It's a good strategy. That's they've undertaken with Laie as the head. And I think that, at this competition, I've had the opportunity to see Laie's team, not that very technical as compared to our team, but they are a very well coached team. You clearly could see that Laie is doing a very good job on them. If you're looking at quality in the Ugandan team as compared to that of the Black Starlets, I would say the Black Starlets have quality than Laie's team. We have quality because this time, and this is my view and my opinion, I think that in terms of our honesty level to having players represent us at this level, this time probably maybe I'll give the FA 100%, because you clearly could see that Prosper Ogun has really worked and did the right scouting with the players that we have. There are a few players that this week have been part of a junior level competition that I've seen that probably could have made the squad, but notwithstanding, the players that I've seen at the under-17 championship are very, very good and they've done well. The only thing that I have not been happy with at this championship is their wastefulness. They create a lot of chances. They play some good football, but they are so wasteful. In the game against South Africa, which they won 3-1, if the team had been, had not wasted so many chances that came their way and they had been proficient, we wouldn't be talking about us playing against Laie's team today in a playoff for the World Cup. We would have automatically qualified for the World Cup. But they've been good, and I think that tonight's game presents the team a huge opportunity to make the World Cup, which we haven't been in a very, very long time. It will be great to have this set of players get through with Prosper Ogun to the World Cup. But then again, there's a huge stumbling block. There's a huge, wall that they have to scale, which is the Laie wall. And I think Laie definitely would want to prove a point that, he was coach of this team, left, Prosper Ogun came through, and he certainly knows some of the players, because there are certain players that still fall within the under 17 age, which played in the Lai era and also are still in this team. So he quite knows them very well. He knows our football. He knows Prosper Ogum. So that's a huge advantage for Lai Kingston. But in terms of quality, we have quality, but Lai's team is a well-coached team. And of course, if you go into any championship and your team is well-coached and you have quality, the well-coached team, yes, they always stand a good chance of beating you. So it will be a difficult game. From a Ghanaian perspective, I would love for us to win, but I mean, these games they come as it is, and as I mentioned earlier, the script writers always have a way of turning how things will be. So a win for Ghana will be good because I want to see Ghana make the World Cup, but I won't be surprised if Uganda are able to edge this.
Very, very interesting days indeed. There's no doubt about that, huh? So let me come to you, Kwejo Ejejima. I mean, from a Ghanaian perspective, you'd want to be worried because, like Benedict has said, Laye would want to prove a point to Ghana and make us see what probably we did not, because according to him, there was unfair treatment and all of that. So from his perspective, you'd want to make you see the value of what you've lost. Kwejo?
Yes, certainly. I mean, if you watch Laye, I think, yes, the World Cup is very important to Laye. If you can do that over Ghana, I think that will, prove a lot of the doubters wrong, so to speak. But also beyond that, most importantly, is the system that Uganda is putting in place. They are relying on Laye as the future, possibly the Ugandan national team coach, or the one that will set the tone for their football going forward. Because I'm sure when they met Laye, and if you watch how Laye manages, his teams are always playing very, very in a particular way. The style, the system, and that is very, very key. It's not just about getting results alone. It's how you play, how you progress players. So yes, a win or lose today, a win obviously will make him happy, and Ugandans happy. A lose today obviously will make him sad. But there is a brighter future for Ugandan football because of the style that they're trying to create going ahead. And I think in the next few years to come, that will be very important. But of course, tonight is going to be a good night. I've seen the Ghana under 17 team, and I have to also say that Coach Ogum is a very, very good coach. He's a very, very good coach, understands grassroots football and how to work with young players. So it'll be very exciting to see a manager that believes in fundamentals of the game, to Laye as well, who also believes in the fundamentals of the game. So it'll be very interesting. I just think that Ghana has a little bit more quality ahead of the Ugandans because of perhaps naturally players are more good footballers. As to play the system though, but their players are naturally good footballers, and that will probably be the little edge we might have over the Ugandans. But other than that, I think Laye is doing a great work, and his signature is already seen in how Ugandan teams are already playing. If you watch his teams, you see they play in a particular way, maybe free back, and then they press wing backs in, and so inverted fullbacks. It's obviously clear that this is where he's going, and so I just think it will be a very important game. But Ogum, I like how he also understands the game, reads the game, and breaks tactics down, especially when he has to be more technical, and sometimes when he has to be more direct. I think the most important thing about football managers is to be able to understand the variations on when to be direct and when to be technical and when to be tactical when you have to. And that would be very important in this game.
So remember, your messages are welcome when the final leg of the show. So that game is at 7 p.m. this evening. It's Ghana going up against Uganda for a place at the next Under-17 FIFA World Cup. Would it be Laye Kingston and his Uganda side prevailing, or it will be Dr. Prosper Ogum and the Black Starlets? Kofi Edu Kisi Edu sends this message. He says, "Good afternoon, Nat. For the players who have been left out of the England squad, Tuchel better make an impact. Otherwise, the English press will roast him alive."
This and an idiot can't stop my foot like Yasuki. I stand out, but killing me day up on me 10 toes. One man killer me, nobody can angle. How me afraid?
Inko Joseph has sent this one. He says, I wish Prosper Ogum and the under-7 team the best of luck this evening. Thank you very much, Inko Joseph. Not Benjamin Asari's mistakes simply lack of experience at the international level. The technical team really need to work on him if he's really going to be our number one in the post. Congrats to my Arsenal friends, especially Bolare. My friendly advice to them is to be content with the EPL trophy because beating PSG in the Champions League finals next Saturday will be a very tall order. Prosper says this one again. And that lands us on Arsenal. Congratulations to you, the Arsenal fans. It couldn't have come at a better time. Yes, and here we go. Anitojo from Tema Newtown says, weekends, doctors. Congratulations to Arsenal and Al Nasser. Football is sweet, Papa. Yes, of course. Cristiano Ronaldo making a very, very important mark on world football by making sure that he won a trophy in every single football destination he visited, from his native in Portugal, going to England, going to Spain, going to Italy, and then landing in, the Gulf, going to Saudi Arabia, winning a trophy in every nation. Now he'll bid farewell, I'm sure, to the world of football through the World Cup eventually. But hey, the 40-plus player who just keeps going and keeps going. Very, very interesting indeed. So let's wrap up on the note of Arsenal and how important this win is for them going forward into this next weekend's Champions League final. We're going to be together at the Aviation Social Center for the Rep Your Jersey event. We're going to be bringing you some more details about that. But, a passionate man, eventually it's here, and that glory and that honor will land on Arteta after a long, hard walk.
Well, now I think first of all, we'd have to also give a lot of credit to the board for sticking with Arteta for 6 years, 6 seasons, getting to the 7th season soon. And I don't think no serious club with a lot of competitive edge will be that patient for Arteta for that number of seasons. We've seen it all over the top teams. They don't have time. Lately, managers have been signed for 2 years with the option of a 3rd year. For Arteta to be there for 6 seasons and then being patient enough for him to get to this point, I think is important. Then the question comes, maybe Unai Emery, if they had given him enough time to have stayed, would he have won something? Nobody knows. So you have to give gratitude and thanks to the board for sticking with Arteta over the years. And then also Arteta himself, because he believed in the system, he made a lot of changes. The board backed him with a lot of money. Rice coming in made a lot of difference. Eze coming into the season, Joe Carres also brought a lot of difference. Manueke. So the options of Arsenal having a squad. Remember, you don't win the league with a team. You win the league with a squad, because it's a long way out to the end of the season. So depending on how much quality of your squad is, most likely you're going to end up either winning the league or close to winning the league. We've seen this season when players have been injured. Saka has been injured. In the previous seasons, when Saka goes injured, the team sort of lacks balance. But this season, Madueke is there, Eze is coming in, and Odegaard goes in and out. But there's still enough players to be able to fill that. Whether it's a defensive cover, all these positions have been well cared for Arsenal. So I just think that Arsenal was ready to compete against City, regardless of who got a red card or injuries or whatever it was. They were a proper team as a squad. And this could be a spur on for the coming seasons, because a young Xavi Alonso is in now, and Chelsea, they don't know what to expect. Well, to take him maybe about a year or who knows to get the team going. Then you've got a young Carrick who's also quite inexperienced, and he's going to work Man United his way up. Arsenal, on the other hand, looks like a team that is ready, like an engine that is already well oiled to go on. So maybe if they beef up more, they could even do more exploits in the coming seasons. But all boils down to the hard work of Arteta and the board and the whole team itself and the players that have come in, and that has also sort of beefed them. Because remember, Pep tried to even bring in Semenyo and Cole in the winter break because he knew that to compete against Arsenal, he had to bring in those players. And we saw the impact these players made. Semenyo already and his assist and his all-world crown. And, so these are very important part of the season. And the club has moved from a selling club into a competing team.
Thank you.
Over the years, they sell players. One player shows up, they sell him. But now they're retaining players and they're actually bidding for players that the likes of the Real Madrid and the Barcelonas are going for. And so that changes a lot.
So we live to see what will happen next weekend. It's going to be a tall order indeed. There's no doubt about that, huh?
For sure. I think next weekend is going to be a good game. I just think that PSG will beat Arsenal, only for the fact that when Arsenal concedes an early goal, they always have that mental block in coming back. PSG, on the other hand, has a little bit mental strength when they concede goals. They that kind of never saying die spirit that all these big clubs have. I think PSG has that little edge over Arsenal with that. There's a belief in the team. They believe in the team. All right, it's a final, Nat. Arsenal now with the pressure and the naivety of the players, never won the title for 22 years. Perhaps maybe the Premier League getting it for the first time could also relieve that tension, could make them settle and then go ahead for it. I believe that Arsenal will be the best football team on the night on the 30th, but I also believe that PSG will edge them and win the title.
Okay, let's see how all of it goes. Benedict, let's give you the final word. Arsenal, long in coming, but hey, it's a lot of big relief for the fans, and now the big one itself is waiting for them. But Passionate Man says, no, I think that's where the celebrations will end because PSG are a tough customer. Final thoughts in a minute and a half?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate the point made by Jima, and yeah, he said everything right because for Arteta, how they believed in him for more than 6 seasons, almost the 7th season, it hardly will happen with any club. We've seen what's happening at Liverpool, and this season, the fans are up in arms and calling for the exit of Arne Slot. And so for us now to have stayed with him, backed him for all these years, coming second 3 times and eventually winning it, I think it's good. It does a lot of good to their confidence going into the game next week because if Arsenal had lost the Premier League title, we all know that would have been a way different thing going into the final. Now they're going with so much confidence that they can conquer every team, and they are actually out there to complete what they've started this season. They've been very consistent. They've not lost any game in the UEFA Champions League up to this point. People talk about, and myself, I also talk about how it will not be fair on the part of PSG to go through that side of the draw, for us not to go through the side of the draw in which they did, beating the likes of Sporting and all these teams, and eventually going into the Champions League. If football is fair, PSG should win because they've played, and I'm talking about the group stages. They've played the toughest opponents in the group stages. Maybe Arsenal wouldn't have got into this level of the championship if they had gone through that side of the draw. But finals are always a one-off, and I'm sure probably maybe next week we'll talk much more about that. Finals are always a one-off, and anything can happen. PSG, we all know the threat up front, but Arsenal are also a very organized team. They are so good. So let's see what happens next week. I would want PSG to win because the Arsenal fans make too much noise. So,
hey, Benedict, I'm sure you're going to get a couple of phone calls, in a few moments. All right, so
Black Jersey on the beat.
Here we go at the finish line of the show. Big congratulations to all of the Arsenal fans. I mean, Oga Henry Onwozorigbo, the MD of Zenith Bank. Reverend Daniel Asiedu, MD of Omnibusage Bank. My big brother Ben Dabra, international banking consultant and former MD of Barclays, now ABSA. Hey, Charlie. Salutes to you, the Arsenal fans, but there's a lot of work to do this weekend. There's no doubt about that. Happy birthday to you, Mr. Natslaye. Big salutes to you. And of course, we wrap up with a special dedication to the chairman of the Black Stars Management Committee, Dr. Randy Abbey, and your lovely wife, Tessa. We thank God for this very important milestone in your lives. And we pray that you'd continue to get blessed by the good Lord, kept together, and be an inspiration to others in the union. Congratulations to you once again, Dr. Randy Abbey. May this also bring positive omen to the Black Stars as we go to the World Cup, Charlie. Thanks to the whole production team right here, led by Benaya Elom Dafia Mekpo. By the good grace of the Almighty God, we'll be back next weekend with another show to look ahead to the Champions League final. Keep it here. Kwame Dazi and the rest of the team take over very shortly. And of course, happy 60th birthday to you, Sami Bakete. Send him a message and wish him happy 60th birthday. He's got so much swag and smooth. I can't believe you're 60, bro. All the best, people. Have a nice one. My name is